Hello YouTube, this is what I shall call Sermon Sunday, where normally I'm going to be talking about what a sermon was about in church on Sunday, but today, partly because I was half asleep during the sermon, I mean I did listen, I did know basically what it was about, but because something else came up that I think is not really more important, but just something I'm more willing to talk about. If you haven't seen my shout out Saturday of Tim Stone's, the first music video that he did, kind of spoiler alert, it's basically about all the war and suffering and injustice, I guess you could say, in the world. And part of the song basically says that he's praying to God to change it, and apparently God doesn't care because he's not doing anything. And I get the mindset behind that, but I want to address that because it's kind of important to understand. Obviously, if you don't care about understanding, right, then it doesn't matter. But for people who really struggle with that, who wonder why there can be a God so loving and still be all this war and death and everything, all sin is the same. It's the same level of evil, the same level of sin. And we don't quite understand that because we put a hierarchy on our sins and punishments and crimes and everything. But God doesn't. He's eternal. He's perfect. He's all-encompassing. If anything is a sin, it's all the same level of sin. I know there's a verse or something about that. I'm not good at memorizing verses, and I didn't do much preparation for this, so I don't know any verses about it, but murder is just as bad as lying, and adultery is just as bad as envy and greed. So when we complain about why is there so much death in the world, why are there so many evil people in the world, why can't God just get rid of them? He'd be getting rid of us too, because everyone has sinned. Everyone's fallen short of the glory of God. Everyone has made mistakes, and everyone is equal. So if we're trying to point fingers and saying like, oh, why didn't God stop Hitler? Why didn't God stop Saddam Hussein? Got his name. That's probably it. If we keep complaining about God not stopping who we think is evil, and then demand justice, remember that we are evil, and killing us would be justice. So we can't pick and choose what evil can and can't be allowed. If anyone knows what evil is allowed to live, it would be God, the one who's been here for eternity, the one who has all the power to do something. He knows what should or should not be allowed. There are times when something bad is going to happen and he does stop it. Partly because I'm not prepared, I don't have any examples for that, but there are plenty of people who can tell you about times when they felt a miracle happen and they were saved. And we don't always hear about people thanking God for that, because a lot of times something miraculous will happen and we won't even notice, and then we complain about God not doing something to fit our needs or our wants, really. And kind of started rambling and getting slightly off track, but we keep wanting heaven on earth, and we keep forgetting that we have a heaven to go to, that this isn't the end result, that things were predicted to get worse than now, and it's not really our place to complain. I mean, I know some people have used an analogy for like us being ants in an ant farm with God being the one with the ant farm. If those ants started complaining to the maker person, like, oh, why didn't you kill this one ant because he's an ant? It's like, no, we're all ants. We're all tiny and insignificant. and yet he still loves us. While we were against him, he still loved us. I know that was a verse. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Because remember, when he died for our sins, we hadn't been saved yet. He loved us and died for us when we were still his enemy, because we were all his enemy, and obviously a large percentage of us still are. So I'm still getting off track, but basically the point of this video was to say that you can't say God doesn't care. He sent his son to die for us because he loved the world. That's kind of something we all have heard before, and whether or not you believe it is up to you, but I obviously do. And just because he's not doing something that we see or not fitting our timeline doesn't mean he's not doing anything. Doesn't mean he's okay with sin. It doesn't mean he's ignoring us. People always say like, oh, well, God doesn't answer my prayers. Well, yeah, he does answer them. He just doesn't say yes. And we think, oh, well, he's not giving us what we want. Well, why should he just give us everything we want? We're nothing. We don't deserve him to give us whatever we want. He gives us what we need and what he knows is good for us. It's like if you're a parent and your kid's just asking for candy all the time and you say no, and he says, oh, well, you're just ignoring me, you don't like me, you're not giving me everything you want. Well, you're not supposed to just have a bunch of candy. You're supposed to eat your vegetables and be healthy. So why are you complaining about us doing what's best for you? Type of thing. I always feel like you get off track, even though that's probably on track. Kind of. But before I get any more off track, I'm just going to end the video here, because I don't want to keep rambling. Yeah. Awkward ending. See ya.